11:47 p.m. I was sitting in the dark, checking my phone every few minutes for a confirmation message on a 3-year contract worth 1.2 crore rupees. The advance payment alone was supposed to be 18 lakhs. The notification finally arrived, but it wasn't from the client. It was an automated account alert from my bank. My balance? Exactly 4,200 rupees. I called the bank twice. I was looking for a system error or an external hack. It took 20 minutes to realize the money hadn't been stolen by a stranger. The culprit was the man in the office next to mine for 6 years, my co-founder, the godfather to my sister's son. His apartment was empty and his phone was dead. Understanding how 43 lakhs vanishes without a single alarm means looking at the specific blind spot created by 6 years of absolute trust. We met in college. Neither of us had money or connections, just the same hunger. We started with one table and a single idea, building a logistics business from the ground up through years of shared survival. I treated business parity as a blood bond. Because we were 50-50 on every risk and every rupee for years, I assumed his loyalty was a constant, not a variable. The signs started 8 months before the end. He began arriving hours late. Then came the requests for personal salary advances and direct control over vendor payments. When I questioned a suspicious 3.8 lakh vendor payment, he was ready. He asked how I could possibly doubt him after everything we'd built. I felt guilty for even looking at the books. I chose to believe his explanation because the alternative was too painful to accept. I saw the numbers, but I prioritized the friendship. The records show a calculated 7-month operation. He siphoned 43 lakhs through 27 small transactions to stay beneath internal flags. He registered fake vendor accounts and quietly redirected margins from inflated invoices. He timed these thefts to keep the overall balance just high enough to pass a casual glance. The exit was timed to the exact night before we were set to sign that 1.2 crore client deal. Signing that contract would have triggered a mandatory financial review of the entire year. He left while the account still looked healthy enough to avoid that final scrutiny. He used 6 years of observing my review habits to engineer a theft that would only be discovered once he was safely gone. The client deal collapsed immediately. I had to terminate 17 employees, people whose families relied on a business that no longer had its operating capital. I stopped trusting my own judgment. If I could be fooled this completely for this long, I felt incapable of reading anyone. The recovery began with documentation. My lawyer, a forensic accountant, and the police worked to track the fraud to Surat, where we eventually froze his new business assets. Survival required moving from the emotion of the betrayal to the cold physics of the transactions. I rebuilt the company smaller and leaner. I didn't stop trusting people. I stopped trusting the absence of oversight. Now, no single person has unchecked access. Every major transaction requires 2 separate logins and a weekly ledger reconciliation. Strict systems protect the partnership. They remove the possibility of temptation and ensure that mistakes are caught before they become disasters. The 11 employees who stayed through the collapse became the foundation of the new firm. Their loyalty wasn't assumed, it was proven during the worst months of my life. Resilient systems ensure that a business can survive the unthinkable, even when the person you trust most decides to leave.